Let's take a closer look at Audi's new sub-brand Audi's new sub-brand Audi for China and their first model E5 Sportback. Like always, let's talk about the background of this project first. Audi was selling cars in China since 1988, and especially between the 2000s and 2014, the Chinese market was the main or the only growth factor for Audi. Audi did many things right. When high import taxes came up, Audi produced with their own factory in China. They offered popular long wheelbase versions of A4, A6 and Q5, and especially for government officials the A6L was very popular. Audi-based Hongxi cars and Audi A8 were a bit too much, the A4L too small, and the A6L just right. Also, Chinese customers like to be modest, so Mercedes was a bit too much for many, BMWs have the image of reckless drivers, also in China, and so Audi was a very popular brand. But even in my time at Audi, it was foreseeable that this period will come to an end. And now, 10 years later, we are there. Car manufacturers can only build cars in China if they cooperate with a local car manufacturer, with Tesla being the first exception. And the local engineers were learning fast. So Chinese car manufacturers were getting better quickly, and suddenly with the rise of much simpler electric drivetrains, Chinese cars are more exciting than European cars, can do more things, have lots of fresh ideas, and are a lot cheaper. In addition to that, more than 100 new Chinese brands came up, and we don't hear about most of them in the West, and some of them disappear as quickly as they came. So it's a brutal competition on the Chinese market right now, with less and less interest in European cars. For example, we are used to a facelift every 3 years. In China, cars get facelifts in less than a year. So the plummeting China business leaves German car brands with a big problem, because their growth of the past was only coming from China. Their management took it for granted, and now it's gone. So what's so different about the Chinese market? German customers like to look after their cars, so they keep a car for longer, and there's a huge second-hand market. So you can even see 20-year-old cars in Germany in very good condition. So for the German market, cars need to last for longer. So cars are designed, for example, for 8 years, which means huge development costs. Chinese customers only buy new cars, and they want something new every 2 years. So cars don't have to be developed for 8 years. Chinese companies can simply cut the product lifetime in half, which saves a lot of development costs and leaves the customer with a much lower price for a new car, not to mention low production cost, etc. And now Audi is trying to save their struggling China business with a bold move. Also, because of Audi's constant management struggle over the last 10 years and no clear strategy for the future, they have been outperformed by Chinese brands and even by their own joint venture partner SAIC. SAIC, on the other hand, created a new joint venture with Alibaba and called it IM Motors for Intelligent Mobility. Their first car is the IML6, a car with a 900-volt solid-state battery for more than 1,000 km range, aluminium double wishbone suspension and air suspension all around, and the latest software tricks. Audi now took exactly this car to save their own brand in China. But not quite, they actually created a new brand, but also called it AUDI. If we look back, we find that after the Second World War, the auto unions started with their brand DKW again in West Germany for reasonably priced cars. When they held on to two-stroke engines for too long and the brand DKW was damaged too much, they changed to another auto union brand name, Audi. A fresh start in 1965 with Mercedes four-stroke engines. More on that in my other videos. So now it's 2025 and the brand Audi in China seems damaged, so they try a fresh start with a new brand. But they get rid of everything Audi stands for and call it AUDI. So let's take a look at this. As expected, wheelbase and suspension are the same as in the IML6, and Audi effectively designed a new body on top. The body is very Chinese with thin headlights and fancy light animations. Air can flow through the front next to the logo to reduce drag. The E5 has the typical taxi sign of Chinese cars for the LiDAR sensor for automated driving. There's no sign of any Audi design language. There are no four rings anywhere on the car, not even on hidden parts, something people used to be proud of. There are no Audi typical sharp edges, and instead we see a very round and smooth design, which we know is cheaper to produce. It has the typical Chinese door handles and a rear that reminds me of the Vanquish's shield. Of course, in China you can still use the old and cheaper R134A refrigerant, which is prohibited in Western countries since 2017. Also, the trunk is as narrow as the IML6, and the interior looks like any other Chinese brand. There are physical buttons on the steering wheel, which is good, but wipers are controlled with the left lever because your shifter is the right lever. Interior quality is good, just like all Chinese cars in this category, but not classic Audi-like. The sun visor has a metal clip, which many others don't have, and again, like all Chinese cars, you have your personal assistant in the middle and a touchpad on which you can write. Of course, you have a place for two phones in the middle with wireless charging. There are 4 different drivetrains available, but not the solid-state battery of the L6. The price starts at €28,000, the top model is €38,000, which is really cheap compared to Audi's cheapest electric car in Europe. For China, it's in the mix in this category, and it shows you how hard the competition here is. Strange is that Audi is presenting the car as a new brand for a fresh start, but during the presentation they try to build the bridge to Audi's heritage, without the 4 rings, but with Quattro. By the way, calling electric Audi's E5 instead of A5, for example, was an idea in Ingolstadt long time ago, but they now created their own naming mess in Europe. So now, the Audi E5 is designed for China and is produced in Anting, Shanghai. It's a weird cherry-picking project. They use the new platform of VW's Chinese joint venture partner SAIC, so a platform which offers everything Chinese customers want. They create a car which looks and feels nothing like Audi, create a new brand, but then call it Audi. Try to connect it to Audi's history without using any rings and then sell it in the same dealerships. And on the other hand, you should know that Chinese customers like European cars for being European. Like Audi boss Döllner said, Audi needs to get their act together now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and become a member for early access and to support the channel. See you at the next one.